Hey everyone, today we're going to dive into some absolutely game-changing insights from researcher Brené Brown. We're talking about how to live a life that's a little braver, a little more connected. We'll break down the walls we build, figure out what courage really is, and learn how to actually choose it, even when it's uncomfortable.
Okay, let's just start with the biggest idea right out of the gate. You'd think that fear is the enemy of courage, right? But what Brené Brown's research tells us is nope, that's not it. Fear is normal. Everybody feels it. The real roadblock, the thing that actually stops us, is what we do when we feel that fear. It's the armor we instinctively reach for to protect ourselves.
Right, so that's the big question, isn't it? What even is this armor she's talking about? Because let's be honest, we all have it. We're all wearing it, but we so rarely stop to actually look at it and figure out what it's made of.
So, at its core, armor is just our default defense mechanism. It's that whole package of thoughts, feelings, and actions that we automatically jump to whenever we feel exposed or, well, vulnerable. It's our brain's way of trying to keep us safe when things feel risky or uncertain. And this armor, it shows up in so many different ways. I bet some of these are going to sound pretty familiar. Maybe it's perfectionism, that little voice that says, if I just do everything perfectly, no one can criticize me. Or maybe it's micromanagement, trying to control every little detail. Or, hey, maybe you're the knower, the one who always has to have the right answer. And look, this stuff worked. It was a survival tool. But here's the kicker. The very same armor that protected you then might be the thing that's suffocating you now, keeping you from really connecting with people. Okay, so if armor is the problem, then what's the solution? Well, it all starts with completely rewiring how we think about vulnerability. Most of us grew up believing the myth on the left. Vulnerability is weakness, period. Don't show it. But what the research and even Brené's work with the military shows is the dead opposite. The reality is that vulnerability isn't the opposite of courage. It's the birthplace of courage. And just so we're all on the same page, let's be super clear. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's not oversharing on the internet. It's simply the feeling we get when we step into a situation where we can't control the outcome. You know, that feeling in your gut right before you say, I love you first, or ask for that raise, or put a creative idea out into the world. That feeling of risk, that's vulnerability. And if you need any more proof, just listen to this. When Brené Brown was talking to a group of Special Forces soldiers, she asked them for a single example of courage that did not require vulnerability. The room was dead silent. Finally, one soldier stood up and just said, 3 tours. There is no courage without vulnerability. Wow. I mean, the lesson is crystal clear. If you're not feeling that uncertainty, if you're not feeling at risk, you're probably not being brave. So, if vulnerability is the key, how do we create a space safe enough to even try? Well, it all comes down to trust. But how we build trust? It's probably not what you think. We tend to have this movie-like idea of trust, that it's built in these huge, heroic moments. But the research shows it's the little things. Trust is built in tiny, almost invisible moments. It's built in the small choices we make every single day to turn towards someone instead of away. Brené came up with this brilliant metaphor from a story about her daughter. After a friend betrayed her, her daughter declared she'd never trust anyone again. So Brené explained that trust isn't a single thing you just hand over. It's like a marble jar. And every time a friend does something small and kind and consistent, they earn a marble in your jar. You only share your most vulnerable stories with people who have taken the time to fill up that jar. So what are these marbles? They're the small stuff. Seriously, it's remembering to ask how your coworker's mom is doing. It's when someone tells you a secret and you actually keep it. It's asking about that presentation they were nervous about, and then, actually listening to their answer. These tiny little deposits of care are what build real trust. They show you who has earned the right to hear your story. Okay, so we're practicing vulnerability. We're building trust one marble at a time. But what's the point of all of this? The ultimate goal is true belonging. And to get there, we have to get really clear on what it's not. And this right here is a massive distinction. Fitting in, that's about changing yourself to be accepted. It's being a chameleon. And when you do that, the first person you betray is always yourself. True belonging is the opposite. It doesn't ask you to change at all. In fact, it demands that you show up as you are. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? The deepest connection we crave doesn't come from being just like everyone else. It comes from having the guts to be ourselves. And that means we have to belong to ourselves first before we can truly belong anywhere else. And this is the tough part. This is the paradox. To find a place where you truly belong, you often have to find the courage to stand completely alone, to stand up for what you believe in, even if you're the only one standing. So how in the world do we actually do this? How do we put all this theory into practice? Well, the good news is the research gives us a clear, actionable roadmap. Here's the most hopeful part. Courage is not a personality trait you're born with. It is a collection of 4 skills that are 100% teachable. First, you have to live into your values. You can't be brave if you don't know what you stand for. Second, you have to rumble with vulnerability. That means learning to stay in the tough, awkward conversations. Third, you've got to brave trust. Do the marble jar work. And finally, number 4, you have to learn to rise. Because you are going to fail. You're going to fall. The whole skill is in learning how to get back up. This is the work. And so we come full circle, right back to that armor we started with. That armor absolutely served a purpose. It kept you safe. It did its job. But the question to leave you with is this one. You're here now. What is that armor costing you today? In your relationships, in your career, in your joy, in your courage? It kept you safe then, but what's the price you're paying for it now?